Hey everybody, it's the OMAD Dad. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, a channel that is dedicated to living the OMAD lifestyle or eating just one meal a day. Well, we are back with another installment of viewer questions, and today I have a couple of different questions. Actually, one's a question and one was a comment that I thought I would address. So this one comes from James. This is a really good question. I am 6'3" and 300 pounds, and I want to go back to 160 pounds as I was in my 20s. I am now 50. I lean towards going between OMAD and water fasting. Is water fasting better than OMAD, even though it's even more stricter? And so, why do you choose OMAD? All right, this is a very good question, and unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be as clear cut of an answer as I can. Is not one generic answer for absolutely everybody who will watch this video, but I'm going to do my best. I know Joe from the OMAD Revolution, his channel, he just did a video on this, and I, for the most part, agree with what he says. To a certain extent, and there are a few things I disagree with him on. If you've watched my channel with at any time, you know that I don't necessarily have anything against water fasting. And just so we can be clear, what he's referring to as water fasting means going somewhat longer periods of time, as in longer than a day, with consuming only water and being on a very strict diet, as opposed to eating at least one meal every single day and consuming calories. There are a lot of, as I've addressed in other videos, there's a lot of positive benefits to strict water fasting in that way. There's also some negative side effects from fasting in a way like that. And ultimately, it all comes down to you. It comes down to how your health is at the moment. Some people are more metabolically damaged than others. Some people are in such a state that doing almost anything without specific doctor supervision can cause horrific problems and possibly even death. So, not knowing where you are in your health, it would be hard for me to just say yes, do this, or no, do that. And I'm not a doctor, and I don't pretend to be. So, you do definitely want to have a good relationship with your doctor and talk to them and make sure that you express your intentions and say, this is what I'm planning on doing, and they will work with you. But I've done videos on water fasting. I don't recommend going longer than 48 hours doing a strict water fast. The reasons is because it's just simply unsustainable. You can't go forever and indefinitely without eating. And if you're not careful, you end up getting into this mindset where you're constantly chasing numbers and it's never good enough. And you could end up developing an eating disorder trying to chase some ideal number on a scale while not looking at the overall big picture of your health. Weight is a very important part of your health, your picture of your health, but it is not the only picture. And we set goals, and it like kind of sometimes it's like we set goals the way a CEO would set goals for a company. We want to have a 10% increase in sales, and if they get 9.5, it's like, oh man, we just couldn't do it, and they get so frustrated instead of being able to say, wow, we did 9.5% more than we did last year. Way to go, everybody. And it's all about your mindset. But I have no problem with water fasting in and of itself. I can tell you that doing a 48-hour water fast, particularly if you're just starting out, can really be beneficial for your OMAD plan. And it's one of the main tenets of why the snake diet guy, Cole Robinson, does the snake diet that way. A 48-hour fast is usually plenty of time for even the most stubborn of metabolisms to completely deplete your glycogen stores and to get your insulin levels lower and stable to where they need to be, and to have your hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin, working properly. Usually that's a really strong enough reset. And after those 48 hours, you'll find that you've probably taken off some water weight at least. Many people probably lose anywhere from 2 to 5 pounds. Some may even lose a little bit more. And then from there, jumping right into a set OMAD practice every single day, I find it may make it a little bit easier for you. For somebody who's never fasted before, who's never skipped a meal before, going 48 hours without eating could be like the worst hell that you've ever imagined, especially if you're used to having a lot of sugar, a lot of junk food, and an excess ton of carbohydrates. Having said that, I'm not saying that you need to go keto before you do any of this. You don't necessarily have to do that, but that's one of the bad parts of doing these long extended fasts is that they're just not sustainable in the long term, and they're very hard to stick with. I've seen it's becoming very popular now on YouTube. Everybody posting their week-long fasts, their 2-week-long fasts, their 1-month-long fasts, and some people have really good ones, and some people don't. Some people feel like they could go on almost forever, and they lose weight, and it goes really well for them. And then other people, they have to stop it because their body is just fighting them and telling them they have to stop. They're losing hair. They're not sleeping right. It is a big stressor on the body to go any longer than 48 hours without eating. So it's good to have a certain amount of stress for the body, in the sense of, like, say, running every day. It puts a stress on your body, and it does help you to change. But if you try doing an ultra marathon every single day, you would find that your body would break down pretty quickly. It's not sustainable. So you have to kind of weigh those options. And I know people want to get to their goal, especially those that are in the morbidly obese category. You want to not suffer anymore. You don't want to have the other side effects of being overweight. For example, maybe you have bad asthma, maybe you have sleep apnea like I had, maybe you have some other issues skin issues that you want cleared up. I understand, but I've always preached that slow and steady wins the race. It may take you a little bit longer, but what you're doing is you're setting yourself a nice consistent pattern. And that is a pattern that is sustainable. And the longer you can sustain that, the more successful you're going to be. See, a lot of times what happens is people go on these long fasts and they're like, wow, I lost 20 pounds in this 1 week of not eating. It's great. And then you have to eat again. So they go to refeed and they instantly gain back about 10 of those pounds back, or about half of what they've lost. So they automatically get discouraged. And then on top of that, once they start eating again, they notice that they don't really have a set plan on how to stop the binge eating, or how to not go over calories. They end up going right back into their old set patterns. So really, it's like you're taking 2 steps forward and 1.5 steps back. And I look at it like, let's take maybe 1 slow step forward, OMAD, and we'll take 1 slow step forward, and we will slowly and steadily get to the finish line and get to our goal. And we do so in a way that you eat every single day, that you're not developing eating disorders. Again, I have nothing against a 48-hour reset, especially if you find yourself addicted to sugar and a lot of excess junk food and carbohydrates. And let's say you went on vacation and decided to stop your OMAD, or for whatever reason, and you needed what I like to call them little quick resets. Sometimes even a 36-hour reset is plenty. It's enough to burn through your glycogen stores. You'll lose some water weight. Your stomach flattens out a little bit, and you'll find that it's easier to kind of go back into OMAD that next time, or as soon as you start eating again. But to do it with any sort of regularity like that, doing like week-long fasts and things, there are some dangers. And like, as I've said before on this channel, you could have good fasts and you could have bad fasts. And I want everybody to be as safe as possible. Again, you're an adult, you have to make up your own mind. But ultimately, I don't see anything wrong with water fasting in and of itself, but you have to be very in tune to your body and know when to stop. And when you're done with the water fasting, you're still going to need a plan and a way of action on how to approach your eating again, so that you're not just taking 2 steps forward and then 2 steps back, and you're just going back and forth. You don't want to keep losing the same 20 pounds, the same 100 pounds over and over and over again. So and I know that people will post on YouTube or on social media about how quickly they've taken off this amount of weight or that amount of weight, but almost all of the time that weight ends up coming right back, or almost all of it, and it's just crushing. It's crushing to see, like, all of that work you put in a week of not eating, in a week of some real dedication. into to doing a water fast, and then to have most of it just most of that weight that you lost just come back. So that's something to consider. And having said that, we do tend to store a lot of toxins in our body fat, and you do want to maintain a lean body fat percentage. You do want to regularly get those toxins flushed out of you. And so if you're morbidly obese, yes, you do need to do something to get the weight off and get rid of the excess fat, especially visceral fat, which is probably the most dangerous that we have. I may do a video on that at some point. But there is a way to do it that is safe and sustainable, and I for one believe that that is OMAD. That's the way to do it. Okay, sorry, I had to readjust the camera there for a little bit and to get some more air in here. My kids are sleeping upstairs, so I don't want to wake them up with the video. The next part of this is actually a comment that was left on one of the videos, and I think it's something that we could definitely address. This gentleman writes, OMAD is difficult. Even though I eat a large meal, I'm still only getting the 500 to 800 calories a day. It's starting to feel like a diet. I understand your frustrations with this. If you're eating a large meal and you're only getting 500 to 800 calories a day, it may not be as large of a meal as you think it is, or you're probably eating mostly whole food, I'm guessing. And whole food tends to not have the massive amount of calories as you would get, and if you went to, like, say, a fast food joint, or you're having a whole bunch of highly processed carbohydrates. So it sounds like to me, perhaps you are filling up a little bit too quickly when you eat your meal. Sometimes this happens to people. If that's the case, that's when you want to just stick to the eating window as opposed to eating just one meal as fast, within a short amount of time. In other words, instead of just having a 1 hour eating window where you have your one meal and you sit down and if you get full too quickly, another thing that you can do is say, okay, over the next 3 hours, I'm going to eat this kind of food. But you have to just be very regimented with it. You have to plan it ahead of time and say, okay, here's 1,500 calories worth of food. This is what I'm going to eat. And, you could either have it laid out in front of you or have it in parts put out in front of you so that it's not all at the same time. But you'll take maybe a couple hours, or maybe even as many as 4 or 5, and then slowly eat that amount of calories, and then you'll be done for the day. Again, I've addressed this also in another video, where sometimes people fill up too quickly, and it's as common because normally when we eat 3, 4, or 5 meals a day, those meals aren't 12 to 1,500 calories. They're usually 400 or 500 calorie meals. Sometimes even less. So, when you get used to that, you fill up pretty quickly. And I'm not saying that you need to sit down and gorge yourself, and it's an all-out pig fest. But know how many calories it's going to take to maintain your goal weight, and use that as a guide. And say, if it's 1,500 calories a day, for example, then make yourself roughly a 1,500 calorie meal. If you don't finish it, that's okay. Don't worry about it. If you're really full and you don't feel like eating anymore, and you've eaten maybe 800 or 1,000 calories, and you could do that, by all means, go ahead. There are days when I have a larger meal than what my maintenance calories should be. And if that's the case, then I find the next day I'm not as hungry and I have a smaller meal, and that sustains me. Excuse me. And then it goes right back into a normal routine. And as far as, OMAD in that situation feeling like a diet, I will say this: you're right and you're wrong in the same, and at the same time. You're right in the sense that yes, it's going to feel like a diet, because anything that you do that's against the norm when it comes to your eating is there. In order to lose weight, there's going to be some kind of restriction somewhere. I wish we could all just eat whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted, and just be thin as a rail and as thin as we needed to be. But unfortunately, that's not the case. It's not like a diet in the sense that I don't have to go out and buy all specialty foods. I don't have to get rid of all the food in my cabinets. I don't have to eliminate whole food groups. I could go to pretty much any restaurant or any social situation, and if that's my meal time, then I can eat. Also, if I'm out, for example, and it's noontime and there's really not any good healthy choices and I don't feel like eating, I know that I don't have to force myself to eat some sort of junk food just because it's lunchtime. So Yes, it does feel like a diet sometimes in the sense that you are going to have days where you're a little bit hungrier than others, and you are going to have to wait for that meal period. But when you do have your meal period, it doesn't feel like a diet in the sense that you could eat what you want, and the way you choose to satiate yourself is totally up to you. So I hope these two questions, they were really great questions. I hope these uh, two questions that I covered today were very helpful for you. Again, I love hearing from you guys, even if it's just comments. So if you have a question, if you have a comment, you know, write it down below in the comment section. Send me an email. I always have my links up, and I'll get back to posting some more regular OMAD content on the channel very, very soon. I'm also planning on doing a live broadcast very soon. I just got to see the logistics of when that's going to work out. Pretty soon I'm going to be getting a new work schedule, so I want to broadcast at a time when everybody will have a chance to get on and ask me some good questions and leave some comments, and I like to hear from you guys. So if you guys are really looking forward to a live broadcast, we just hit over 1,000 subscribers. I want to thank all of you guys. This is something I want to do pretty regularly now, and be able to talk to you guys, reach out and see what's going on in the OMAD world. But that is it for me for today. I hope you guys have a really great day. I hope you're having a very happy OMAD, and of course, be well.